All right, everyone, two different Switch stories we have to talk about today, starting with the latest round of Nintendo Switch Online updates, not in the form of major games being added into the service, but rather yet another free game trial that, to be fair, I think is probably the best title that we've seen thrown onto this thing so far, in addition to having some new icons to choose from that you may want to make sure you pick up, especially if you are a Zelda fan. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with the latest update around the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger and what it ultimately spells out for the future of Xbox games coming to Nintendo Switch and future generation consoles in some form or fashion. And we have to get on the same page with all of those details right now. What's up, nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, today we are discussing a couple different stories, and we have to first kick it off with the conversation around the latest round of Nintendo Switch Online updates. And very first up, we have the latest free game trial, and I've been very vocal about my thoughts on this in the past because I still really feel like we should have the option of growing our libraries over the course of time and not just having a 1 week to check out a full game and then it's technically a promotion to sell the game to you, whereas you have competitors offering things like new games added into your library, multiple games at that each month, and as long as you remain a subscriber, you're kind of building out your library at that point in time. And I think it would be a smart move to throw some of the older Nintendo Switch games or just even indie titles in as a benefit for Nintendo Switch Online. But nonetheless, we do have one of the better free game trials we've seen hit the service so far, as you can read the following over from Nintendo of America, where it says Nintendo Switch Online members from May 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific time to May 7th at 11:59 Pacific time, you can download and try the full Cadence of Hyrule Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring the Legend of Zelda game at no additional cost. As an added bonus, you can also purchase Cadence of Hyrule Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring the Legend of Zelda and related DLC for 50% off. Act fast, the sale ends May 14th at 11:59 Pacific time. So this is a game that I will be downloading and potentially even purchasing afterwards because I saw this heavily promoted short after it was released. And Cadence of Hyrule Crypt of the Necrodancer is a really cool rhythm style action based game, and you can see everything you probably need to see of it on screen. But the biggest thing is the integration with classic Zelda songs that I know and love, that I've grown up listening to my entire life, but kind of have remixed and different type of versions of those songs, and you're fighting enemies to the beat of those classical tracks. Like, it really is a genius idea. It's a cool collaboration with Zelda, and you can definitely see that Nintendo is putting a lot of focus as we get closer to the Tears of the Kingdom launch around Zelda promotional items, specifically with Nintendo Switch Online, as the next update we have to briefly mention is a wave of new icons that you can add in for being a Nintendo Switch Online member. As you can read the next post, Nintendo Switch Online members, now's your second chance to redeem My Nintendo Platinum points to collect a selection of custom icons from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Wave 1 is available now until May 3rd, and Wave 2 is available from May 3rd to May 10th. And these are icons, of course, that we've seen before, but this is yet a fresh reminder to add them into your library, your collection. Even if you don't change your icon to these right now, it's at least worth having in there and a second chance to redeem them. And it's nice, again, to see all of this Zelda hype and promotion from Nintendo as we get towards arguably their biggest Nintendo Switch game launch so far. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below whether or not you're planning on picking up Cadence of Hyrule Crypt of the Necrodancer as part of the 50% off sale, or at the very least, maybe you're going to plan on downloading it and checking it out while it's free to play on the service. And bonus question, what's your opinion with the free game trial program overall? And are you hyped to get another chance at these classic Breath of the Wild icons? And will you be adding them into your library pre-launch for Tears of the Kingdom? So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things Nintendo Switch Online and the latest round of updates in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today has to do with the ongoing Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger, which does directly impact Nintendo Switch gamers, because you may remember we've made numerous videos on the topic at this point in time that if this deal clears, we will see at least Call of Duty supported on Nintendo platforms for the next 10 years. A lot of people get caught up on whether or not Call of Duty could potentially be run on the Switch. My opinion has always been that by the time we get any kind of meaningful Call of Duty game developed for Nintendo hardware, we will likely have the next generation consoles in our hands. So that conversation to me about whether or not it could run on the Switch is kind of irrelevant here, but it would definitely expand the Xbox games and Nintendo partnership that we've seen really start to evolve more and more over recent years, especially with big additions like GoldenEye, with Microsoft being a big rights holder for that game, and it hits NSO without any problems or issues. We have Nintendo, Microsoft, and MGM all sign off on a deal together that allows that game to re-emerge on our modern platforms, which is a great thing to see, especially considering that Microsoft tried to do this back in the Xbox Live Arcade days and couldn't get the deal to go through, and that's why we have arguably a better version of the game that nobody can actually boot up and play, at least through official channels today. And besides that, we see a lot of support for franchises like Minecraft, the Ori games, Banjo hitting NSO as well, amongst many other examples that are out there that show Microsoft and Nintendo effectively somewhat playing on the same team, because Microsoft doesn't see Nintendo as a direct threat or competitor to their bottom line, but rather an additional option that gamers can enjoy a game that they would own, such as Call of Duty, following this merger closing, and it would just be accessible by a much larger, wider user base. If they do get it running on the current Switch today, it would legitimately have 120 million plus units out there that could download a free-to-play game like Warzone in some form or fashion on that console. So what's interesting is you probably have seen all of the headlines recently online discuss that the CMA has officially blocked the deal, and many seem to be jumping to the conclusion that this is the final nail in the coffin and that there's no way that the deal can now be approved, and that Microsoft may indeed start shopping around for other companies to buy instead of Activision Blizzard, because they have $69+ billion cash that they were ready to just throw at Activision Blizzard. They can definitely repurpose that and swoop up smaller companies that don't have that kind of total dollar valuation. However, one thing that is interesting online amongst all of the headlines suggesting that this deal may be dead is some gaming analysts saying that this is not something that they can't overcome. It's definitely a big blow to the deal, and Microsoft may have to strategically offer some concessions or rework certain parts of the deal altogether, but it's not a end-all be-all, that there's no way that they can't win in an appeal case. And to first get on the same page with what's being claimed here and then circle that all back to what it means for us Nintendo Switch gamers and Microsoft games coming to the platform in a more prevalent way going forward, let's first hop over to VGC and read through their detailed typed up article together. Analysts say Microsoft's Activision deal is not dead ahead of UK's appeal. Wedbush, Morgan, and Ampere analysts weigh in on the CMA's decision to block the $69 billion merger. After months of investigation on Wednesday, the CMA became the first of 3 major global regulators to publish its final report on the $69 billion deal. It said it was preventing the merger of Xbox and Call of Duty companies over concerns it would alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come. In its report, the CMA argued the merger would give Microsoft the incentive to increase the price of Game Pass commensurate with the value enhancement of adding Activision's valuable content to it, and that even a modest price increase would significantly reduce or eliminate any potential relevant customer benefits. Microsoft and Activision subsequently confirmed their intention to appeal the CMA's decision, and all hope is not lost, according to Michael Pachter, the managing director of equity research at Wedbush Securities and Piers Harding-Rolls, research director of games at Ampere Analyst. In a research note sent to VGC, Pachter said that the CMA had thrown a wrench into the process, but the deal isn't dead. He believes Microsoft can win the case on appeal, but even if it doesn't, he said the Xbox maker could still make concessions that would help clear the deal. While successfully appealing a CMA decision is a difficult task for several reasons, we think the CMA is on the wrong side of the law on this ruling and believe its concerns can be addressed, he wrote. Ultimately, the ruling hinges on the CMA's belief that Microsoft will have pricing power due to its market dominance in cloud gaming. We think that the CMA's belief is correct, and Microsoft erred in not addressing this issue before the CMA's ruling. However, we firmly believe that Microsoft is willing to concede maintaining pricing at $15 per month plus inflation, and we believe the CMA will reverse its position if Microsoft makes that offer. In a statement provided to VGC, Harding Rolls said today's ruling was clearly a blow to Microsoft and Activision and their efforts to get the acquisition over the line, but the deal could still close this year. Historically, a majority of CMA appeals have been unsuccessful, but there is still a chance that this can be overturned, he said. According to the Competition Appeal Tribunal website, straightforward cases are aimed to be dealt with within 9 months, but often take at least a few months. If the appeal is successful, it is then returned to the CMA to review, which again will take some time. So we could be looking towards the end of the year if everything goes in favor of Microsoft and Activision to close the deal. So there's clearly a lot of moving parts with this, but I do believe that Microsoft will do everything in their power to secure the merger and actually get it to go through. You don't just throw around $69 billion and walk away at the first major hurdle that you deal with being the CMA. What will be really interesting to see from here is whether or not the other major regulatory bodies that need to clear this deal side with the CMA and say that it is a risk to the cloud gaming market, or if they are more in line with Microsoft and believe that they are providing more value and giving access to many different franchises to more gamers as a whole, and they see it as a benefit. That will be the big swinging decision. If Microsoft only has to overturn the CMA's decision, there's a very good chance that we could still see this thing go through, potentially even this year. However, if every major body is opposed to the deal, it is way more likely that Microsoft will indeed give up on the deal and most likely start shopping around for other competitors. That said, it could be a big blow for Nintendo gamers at the end of the day, especially if you are a Call of Duty fan, because this does definitely put that support in jeopardy, because that legal binding 10-year contract only stands for that franchise to come over if Microsoft does indeed secure Activision Blizzard. I don't expect Activision Blizzard on their own to necessarily support Nintendo consoles in any way, shape, or form, just due to the lack of their presence on the Switch altogether. And while we had them on the Wii U and even the Wii before it, it always seemed to be an afterthought and not really their core focus in any way, shape, or form. So I definitely think that that was more of Microsoft's strategy. I don't think it will be a strategy that falls under a standalone Activision Blizzard if they operate under their own brand once again and are not acquired by Microsoft. So we will ultimately have to wait and see what happens with a CMA appeal and what the other regulatory bodies say, which will finally dictate whether or not we see more Xbox game support on the Nintendo Switch in the future. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video on both the different stories we talked about today. How are you feeling about all things with Nintendo Switch Online and the current state of it today? And will you be checking out this latest game trial? And definitely share with me how you feel about the latest development in the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger. Are you more on the side that you would like to see Microsoft secure Activision Blizzard and you're on board with Call of Duty coming to the Switch for the next 10 years? Or do you think that this is one of those deals that likely will be dead after this? And what do you think will happen if that is the case? Will Microsoft go shopping around for other companies? Will Activision Blizzard, as a standalone company, start to bring over more of their games to the Switch? And what would you personally like to see the final outcome of this merger ultimately be? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.